If you want tips on how to set up the most efficient workspace, then today's video is for you. Hello, welcome back to the Crafty Organizer. I'm Noreen Burke, and today we're going to talk about something I have mentioned so many times. A viewer had asked the other day for the specific video where I explain the Bullseye Method, and I realized that I talk about it all of the time, and I explain what it is, but I've never done a dedicated video that just exclusively explains how to set it up, how it works, and something that you can share with others who could benefit from this. So that's what we're doing today. So I came up with the bullseye as the best analogy I could think of when someone is thinking of a dartboard. It has all of those little sections inside of it, which to me are the best representation of categories. But then there are rings that go to the most important one, which is always that bullseye. Now, if you're like me, those little category slivers vary greatly. I have certain things that I absolutely love, which are obviously a much bigger piece of that pie, and then some things I barely use, and I could fit 20 of those within one little section. But even with these categories being different sections, it still conveys the same way when we talk about the absolute bullseye. So how does the bullseye work? The bullseye is wherever you are sitting or working, whether it's in a kitchen, a garage, a craft room, an actual physical working office. Wherever that point is that you are working, all of the categories and priorities emanate from there. So those most used things are going to be right where you are sitting or working from. From there, we go to the outer circle, which are the things that are often used, but maybe you're not touching them every single day or every time that you work. And then the next outer ring are those things that you seldom use. Here's an example. I only use my sewing machine once or twice a year, usually right around Halloween time. So to have my sewing machine and fabrics in my immediate space where I am always crafting wouldn't be the most efficient use of that space. However, having my crafting papers and my scrapbooking and my card making, these are things that I do several times a month. So I want that real estate dedicated to those things that I use frequently. If I had my sewing machine here where I'm always crafting and I had to go out around to my extra storage space to get my card making supplies that I use all of the time, not only would it be frustrating, it would be hard to put away, but again, it's not the most efficient use of space. So consider that bullseye of the most used right at your fingertips, no movement at all. You can literally reach to grab it. That next outer circle is the often used. These are things that you probably use once or twice a week, but you don't need them in your immediate space. That next seldom used are the things that you only use maybe once or twice a month, but they're still convenient to have in your immediate space. And then that outer ring are things that you only use a few times a year. Still make sure that they're accessible to get to though. Having that easy accessibility ensures that putting it away is a breeze. So let's take a look at the crafts by interest again. So paper crafting is my biggest, along with my DIY decor things, woodworking, sign making, and then everything else are small chunks that take up a smaller area. So when I'm looking at my craft space, because paper crafting is such a big thing for me, I have all of the supplies for that in my immediate area. I don't have anything outside. I don't even have backups anywhere else because I use it all of the time. I reserve those outer areas to the lower priority things. My wood blanks for signs that I make don't need to be in my immediate area. I can have them stored elsewhere. But the vinyl that I use, the Cricut that I use to make them, that's in my immediate space. It's easy for me to walk around to my storage space, choose the wood blank that I want, and then I can come back in with that one piece of wood to go ahead and apply my vinyl to it. Now, something else you'll notice here with the example of jewelry making, this is something I enjoy doing, but I only pull it out once or twice a year. And when I do, I have it all contained in one box. I can grab that entire box and bring it into my craft space. But that means because I have it all contained, I don't have any of those supplies in my immediate space. It's out and non-priority. Now I know this sounds a little confusing to begin with, but did you know you're probably already using this method and you didn't even know it? Think about your refrigerator. Your refrigerator typically has zones inside of it, much like categories, and you prioritize where those things are based on how often you access them. So there might be a pickle jar hiding out in the back unless you eat pickles every day, and then those are towards the front. You might have some creams or sauces or condiments that you always use. You're going to have those in the door or again right near the front. But those items that you seldom use are going to be way up high, down at the bottom, but they're not in the immediate area where you use them. So we're going to be applying this technique into other areas. Here's a quick look at my office. It looks so much smaller when I put it in cartoon version, but this really is the size of my space. So when you first walk in, on the right side, right over here, is where I do all of my Crafty organizer work. This is where I get to still work with a few clients. I do virtual organizing. I do all of my script writing, research. I do my editing. So this is my workspace. So having anything craft related in this space would not make sense because this is not where I do my crafting. This is the space where I do my crafting, so only my office supplies are over on the right. But I do have all of my paper and crafting supplies down over here, and in the corner I have a pegboard where I have all of my tools and most used items. Now, in my bookcases towards the back, what I've done is utilize boxes to break down categories. So I have adhesives and stickers, I have my embossing and holiday things, card making, and then I have miscellaneous items. Now, I am the bullseye here. So from where I'm sitting in this space, I have the most used items being my card making and my miscellaneous items like larger embellishments. Then my scrap paper and stickers are the things I go to next the most often, with holiday and advertising still being used, but it's not the most used. So when I'm sitting at my little craft table, everything that I need is literally right here within reach on my pegboard, or I could just reach right down and have those supplies accessible. Now carrying on the other side of my little craft space, I have a bookcase where I store all of my upcoming projects, and I also have my idea books. This works great for me. I work for another company called Annie's Creative Studio. They've hired me to do some assembly of their craft kits, and I also get to do my own series with them called The Uncluttered Crafter. So it's been a lot of fun, but because I always have their kits coming in, I needed a place to organize those, and oftentimes when I have projects coming up for DIYs for you guys, I want to keep them organized and contained, so that is my upcoming project bookcase. So once again, when I'm sitting at my craft table, the amazing thing is with sitting at my table, right over here are all of those supplies for my upcoming projects. They're in one spot. It's super easy to access. And then all of the tools that I use the most are right here on my pegboard. So things like rulers, my glue gun, my paper cutters, I have X-Acto knives, my most frequently used tapes and glues are right here. No searching, they have a home, and it works beautifully. So if you'd like to have a more efficient space when you're working, sit in your spot and start thinking about what do you like to do the most. Then start drawing it out. If your main interest is sewing, for example, you'll want to start identifying which items you use most often. If you are predominantly a quilt maker, you probably don't need the zipper foot as often because you're not installing zippers on your quilts. You might still want it in that area, but it doesn't need to be hanging on your pegboard because you don't use it often. So I hope this straightens up the bullseye. Again, if you know someone who could benefit, share this video with them. I'm always happy to hear that one of these tips that I give helps someone to put their area together. And if you still have questions, leave me comments below. I love answering all of them. The last video was amazing. You guys had such great feedback, and I'm pretty proud to say I think I've answered every single one of them. So leave me questions. Make sure you hit like if you enjoyed this video, and if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button. I want to say thank you to my patrons who allow me to make these videos. Their support is just amazing. I really do appreciate each and every one of them. If you would like to see your name on that list and become a channel supporter, that information is down in the description below, and I will add your name to my list. I will see you guys in just a few days. Bye.